All right.
All right. Welcome back to the Attract and Stand Out podcast. I'm your host, Darlene Hawley, and I have an amazing guest with me today. She is not only a business owner for over 30 years, but she's also a friend of mine. And Dr. Colleen Meyer is been in business for over 30 years. She's won so many achievement awards for herself and various businesses that she's worked in. She's a change management, operational excellence, employee training, and development leadership trainer. And she helps set goals and achieve results in every single business that she works in. She has a doctorate degree in organizational change and leadership from USC and an MBA from the University of La Verne. She's also a professor and a dean of business programs at the California University. I don't know where Temecula just came into that. I saw California and thought automatically of where I live at, but she's from the California University of Business and Technology. And she's also the president of Meyer and Mintz Consulting, a consulting company for small and medium-sized businesses, helping businesses grow strategically through innovation, education, and marketing. And Colleen, welcome to the show. I'm so glad to have you here today.
Thank you, Darlene. I'm excited to be here. Looking forward to it.
Awesome. I like to start all of the shows with just getting a little bit of background from my guests. I would love to hear how you started on this entrepreneurial journey that you're on.
Well, I've been in business for a long time. And the journey started actually when I became a single mother. And I found that if you want to make money to support your child or children, I had to move into management, and that's what I did. So I spent my time moving into management, and after a while, I decided, you know what, I'm making all these people money, millions of dollars, and why can't I do that for myself and my family? So that's what I did. So I decided to branch out, and it started out as a side gig at first, and then now it's evolved into more of a full-time business, and which we're really proud of.
That's amazing. What would you say was like the turning point for where you actually realized that you could do this on your own and make money doing it in a way that wasn't providing for other people, but actually providing for your family?
Well, what I found was I was given projects or jobs working for employers that were turnarounds. So I was sent to regions or counties. I've worked for different counties in different multi-states, like in California, anywhere from San Diego to up in Victorville and Barstow area, so all the way up into Las Vegas, Orange County, LA. And I found that if I'm going to be sent to these areas to turn them around, to clean them up, to get them to make money, to get the key performance indicators where they need to be, I'm thinking, if they're sending me to do that, I have the confidence to say I'm going to go do that for myself. Because these weren't the areas, they didn't send me places where we're already moving and growing. They sent me to areas that they felt were lost causes, and I was going to go in there and turn them around, which we did.
Yeah, and that's amazing because it takes a special person to go into a business and completely rehaul it and turn it around from the inside out. And I love that they trusted you enough to bring you in and have you be that person that did that. What would you say was some of the most challenging situations that you've been in when it comes to turning a business around?
Well, it's changing mindsets. People don't like change. So you don't go in and change everything immediately because it scares people. Change scares people. So what we do is we go in there and we start building relations, and at the same time as making observations. So looking at the books, talking to customers or students, because I work we're a private post-secondary for-profit schools. Looking at the procedures, what are the skills of the employees, and then start to make those changes. But what I found was when you have good employees and you incorporate good employees into the change process, it builds trust. So they trust you. They trust what's coming next, and they help bring the other people along with you, with us or with them. So if we're saying we're here at point A, we need to go to point B, you give them the whys, you get them to buy in, you treat them with respect, you talk to them and treat them in a way that their voices are heard, and then it's easier to move them along. And that's, I think, the biggest thing was the people part of it, is getting that change happening through people. And I think that's where most businesses fail, is that 75% of all businesses fail change management initiatives. So the question is why, and what can we do to not have that happen to us?
Yeah. And I love that you said that you were listening to the voices of the employees. You were actually going in and hearing what they have to say and taking that information to use to help grow the business versus just coming in and dictating, like, these are the way that things need to be and this is how we're going to do it. I think it's powerful when you let your employees speak up and share what's going on for them so that they can have an opinion in it. They feel like they're a part of that process and they're not, just along for the ride.
That's so true. And two, when they trust you and believe that you care about them and where this organization is going, because people are an organization's people, right? It's four walls, a roof, but it's really the people. What happens is now they start telling you things that you would never know otherwise. This person is doing, I had a manager when I took over a region, I had one of the managers was actually stealing and embezzling money. And the only reason how we found that out was because people trusted us enough and trusted me enough to tell us. And then we did an internal audit, and then we had to remove that person from employment. But that's one of the things is because they understand that we're all in it together, and then they will share things that you need to know that's going to fix the organization.
Yeah. What do you think it was about your process and how you came in to the change management with those companies that made the team feel like they can trust you and the process that you were bringing to them?
I think it was because they liked me. I think they liked me because, as you said, I didn't go in there with a bulldozer and say, okay, everybody, this is all wrong and this is the way we're going to do it. What it was listening to people, sitting down. Here's what I like to do. I'll sit down and say, let's talk about expectations. What are your expectations of me? And they will share whatever their expectations of me are as a leader. And most of it is, this is the common ones. Talk to me in a respectful tone. Don't yell at me in front of someone, which I would never do any of those things. If I'm doing something wrong, let me know privately. They have their little lists. And then I say to them, okay, I can agree to these things. I'm going to agree to A, B, C, D, and E. And that makes them feel good. And then I say to them, so let me tell you about my expectations of you. And then I go on and I talk about my expectations, but because I heard them first and we came to an agreement about expectations, then when I gave mine, they were more open to hearing it and doing it. And I think it's all about people building its relationship. You want to change management successfully, processes, you need to get the people behind you on your side, not phony, but that sincerely, and they can move that organization forward.
Yeah.
Because it becomes go ahead.
Yeah, it sounds like you've been able to come into these businesses and really help them find the right direction for them to move forward, to be able to help them move forward. What do you think has been one of the things that has set you apart the most from other people who do the same type of work with you, like the competition, right? Like, what do you think sets you apart that helped you stand out to get those type of positions?
I think which helped me be successful was The other managers would say, we don't need to tell them anything. It's a need to know basis, and they don't need to know. And there's some things, of course, that only, that's strictly management, like how, financials and things like that. But if something they need to know, why not share it with them? When the company was laying off people system wide, my region was the only region we didn't have to lay anybody off. And because what I did was I went in there, I talked to them. I said, this is what we have to do. We got to reduce our full-time equivalent by this amount. And I don't want to lose anybody. So what can we do? And because this team was built and this team trusted each other and this team were all on the same goal, they actually said, well, you know what? I can give up 5 hours on my schedule. I can give up 10 hours. I'd rather spend a little time at home with my family. And because they were so behind the vision that they gave of themselves, and we were the only region that did not lay off anyone. So it's having them part of the discussion, having them part of letting them know what change is coming and how do they want as employees to participate in that change.
Yeah, I love that.
So I believe that thank you.
So tell me a little bit then, like as you transitioned into having your own business, what do you think was some of the things that helped make you successful as a business owner so quickly?
I think what helps is because I have so much experience with operations. And I found that small business owners, that's where they're lacking in some ways. Now you got ones that are doing really great, but sometimes there'll come a little hiccup. So onboarding, an example, having somebody properly onboarded, interviewing, goal setting, how to train a person to be a leader and a manager and set expectations. Those are all the little things that business owners tend to struggle with. And those are the things where this has been my whole life. So it's going in there and saying, hey, what about onboarding? When I was working on my dissertation, the first thing I was going to do it on was corporate universities, because corporations don't like, some studies show that many corporations feel like people come out of an MBA program lacking skills. So they have to, a lot of the good ones will train them themselves. They'll send them to a corporate university. Farmers has an amazing corporate university. MGM had a corporate university. So there's different companies. So that's their onboarding process. A lot of small businesses can't afford that. They can't do that. So we help them set that up so they can get these people in the right places, get the right people on the bus, get the wrong people off the bus. And a lot of people will end up getting the people off the bus when all they needed was training. There are these two gentlemen, their name is Clark and Estes. Clark and Estes wrote a book called Turning Research into Results. And they say, and they're out of USC, and they say, usually if there's something going on in an organization, it falls into 3 categories. K, skills and knowledge. M, motivation. Or O, organization. So they call it the KMO. And what they're saying is, take a look at, did I give them the skills? Do they have the knowledge? They need to do the job. Do they need job aids? Whatever they might happen to need. Motivation. To me, there's 2 different types. There's people that are unmotivated because of what's going on in an organization, or they're not motivated at all. You got to determine which one that is. And then the organization, do we have policies and procedures and equipment and tools to make somebody successful? So it falls under those 3 things. And I find that to be true.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that. I know in my prior life and career, I did a ton of hiring and HR training and development for Best Buy and for Gap. And a lot of times it was, you have people who were excited to do the job that maybe didn't have the skill level yet. And it was just training them and helping them, give them the tools and the support that they need so they can actually show up and do the job. And it drove me crazy when we would give up on an employee, or they would give up on themselves sometimes before they had a chance to go completely through the training program, because I think it's so valuable when a company can dedicate the time and the energy to training their people. That's when they get the results. You can take a hard worker who's willing to do the work and train them to be who you need them to be. But it's harder to take somebody who has a bad attitude and maybe has the skill set, but they don't really necessarily want to be there. Like, those are never going to be the people that you can mold and get them to be the type of employee that you need them to be. So I think it's important that you take time to hire for their values, their view of life, how they want to show up, their excitement, and not necessarily always look at like their resume of all the different things that they've done in the past, because that's not always a true tell for how they actually are going to show up at work.
That's exactly right. I worked for a franchisee years ago, and he said to me, we're going to open 13 units in 3 years. That's what we're going to do, 13 units in 3 years. And I was the general manager, and I said, okay, so I'm thinking to myself, I need to produce managers. And so I created a program called the MAP, Manager's Apprentice Program, MAP. And it's a 10-month program. And we started from the basic steps of a manager to the advanced. And I gave them homework to go do back at their shops. And it was a great program. We were able to hit that goal of opening that many stores. And we were number one in LA, Orange County. We were number one in San Diego. And if you're looking at the top 15 in all of Southern California, we were right there in that circle of the top units. And then I won the General Manager of the Year award for that program, and my franchisee won an award for the best franchise. But we recognized that if we're going to grow and be successful, we need to train people ahead of time and get them ready. And that's what we did. And it worked. It was fun, actually, too.
Yeah, it sounds
and not
like
everybody wants to be a manager. We start out with, okay, we started out with sometimes with 20 people, and by the time we're done with our 10 months, we're down to 6. And because cream always rises to the top, right? Some people think they want it, and then they find out what the work is, and then they don't want to do it after all. But those are the people I went with when we gave management positions.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that you took on this like huge project and were able to come out with managers and people that were ready to move forward in their business. And it helped you move forward along in your business as well, because you have to train people to replace you, is what I've always had, like this mentality drilled into me. Like when I wanted to get promoted in retail management, I wasn't ready to be promoted until I had my replacement trained, so that I could have somebody fill my spot, so that I could move up in that next spot. So it was always about bringing people with you and having the right people around you so that they could lift you up and you could grow the organization together.
Yep, I agree. And I think you look like, John Maxwell says leaders develop leaders, and which is exactly what you're saying. How can you promote? Because people, like a lot of management, fear, well, if I teach them everything, they're going to replace me. And I find that to be not true. I've never had anybody replace me that I brought up and trained. I've had people become my peers, which is I'm very proud. That says a lot. But I do believe that if you're a true leader, you don't have that fear, you believe in your skills, and you promote people, you help people promote so you can move on. So that's very true.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It was always something that I thought was like super proud. I guess I was proud that I was able to help bring people up into the next position versus like just getting promoted and leaving your team behind. It always felt better to have those people rise with you and move forward.
That's right.
So I love that we're talking about
It's not just that.
So much of the team management pieces.
Go ahead.
But I want to bring it back to a little bit about your business today, because I know that you've shifted a lot of your business over the years. This interview is being recorded, 7 months into COVID, and life is a little bit different now. So tell me a little bit about how you pivoted your business and where you're really focusing your attention these days.
Well, we do a lot of training and work with business owners but which we can still do, you can still do that to pivot, you can still do that, but people are shutting their businesses down or people are taking, in the very beginning, remember everybody was pretty much shut down or they're slow to open or some of them are not opening at all. I'm seeing a lot of business not opening. So what I found was I've been getting a lot of people reaching out to me to do marketing and branding. And so what we're doing is we're pivoting because we can do that online. So there's a lot of people out there that are saying, okay, COVID happened, they're going to pivot. And as they're pivoting, they're reaching out to us. And now I'm pivoting to meet that need. So we're working with them on marketing, social media marketing, email. Some of them have already have emails built up. We can get email marketing, creating what's your brand? What do you want to be known for? How are you going to stand out from your competition? So these are the things so we're pivoting that direction right now. And, we're having a great time with that. And so that's how our business is pivoting, because we really can't go out and do action plans and goal setting with managers because they're just trying to keep their business afloat financially. And it's sad to say, went to my mother's house the other day and I passed they have a 7-Eleven, a little small shopping center, little small center there. And they had a salon and a pizza place and different businesses in there, and everything's gone except for the 7-Eleven. So it's really sad what's happening with small businesses. So I'm hoping when we come out of COVID, whatever that looks like, or when that happens, that we can start shifting. We will keep this direction, but I want to also go back to where we're helping people focus and create goals and drive business.
Yeah. And it's such a hard time because it's the same way in our city as well. When I do get out of the house, which isn't extremely often, but when I do, like there's so many signs on the front of doors and restaurants, like the mom and pop locations, the smaller places have had a really hard time in my city as well. And your heart breaks for them because you want to be able to support them and go out there, but with all the restraints that we have, we're not able to go out as much and support those businesses. So I'm completely with you. As soon as the world opens back up to whatever this new normal is going to look like, it's going to be super impactful to go back to these businesses and see which of them need support and help and guidance so that we can help keep them afloat and keep them with like their dream alive for their business.
And the ones that are reaching out right now are not people with brick and mortar businesses. They're people that are, creating music and writing books. And one person was a motivational speaker. So maybe, she wants to put that online and go that direction. And also I have, and also a friend of mine that we're doing a case study on hers because she has a private investor she's a private investigator. And she has a company called Watchman Investigations. And so we're doing a case study on, obviously the general public is not her customer. So we're doing a case study on looking at how can we market this type of a business that's got a special niche, which is lawyers and insurance companies and things like that. And how can we do more social media marketing and drive that type of a business and expose them to the right people. So that's kind of what we're working on right now with her company. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
What's going on. It's kind of fun too, if you think about it, because we're having to rethink everything.
Yeah, it's definitely a time where we've all been able to go inward and really figure out what it is that we want to do, make sure we're showing up the way that we want to online. And so many people have pivoted to bring their brick and mortar businesses or starting businesses because of COVID. They're seeing that they're at home more often and they're having more time to dream and like think back to like what did I want to do before I got into this career or before I became a parent, and like my focus got shifted some. So many people are being able to go back to that place where they're dreaming again and they're able to start these businesses. And that's what they need support around, because I'm seeing the exact same thing in my business. People are coming to me and they're like, all right, I have extra time on my hands, or I'm no longer working my corporate 9-to-5 job anymore. So I'm able to do these different things. How do I do an online business? What does this look like? And I've been able to like come into those conversations with them and help them start to map out a plan so they can start to provide income for their family again. but then also making sure they're starting a business that they're passionate about, that they actually want to wake up and do every day.
It's interesting because, if you look at the, I call it the era of Amazon. Amazon came in and they said, we're going to do, first they sold books and they did that whole books thing. And then they turned into what they are today. And where they're doing delivery, you can go on, you don't have to get in line, you need to go to stores. It's everything. It's, they got a great business model. But the companies that failed to pivot during that are not making it. You got JCPenney's is hurting, Forever 21, all the different businesses, right? What is the other one? Pier 21. They're not making it because they failed to see the writing on the wall and pivot, right?
Yeah.
You got Walmart's, and Target, they're kind of shifting with it. You pull up and they'll bring the order to you outside. You don't even have to come into the store. So they're shifting, but the other ones are not shifting as fast. But that's where we're at here. I was talking to this woman who owns a car. For 30 years, they owned a car body shop. And she said, well, they're losing their business. It's not making money. And I said, why don't you create an app or have an app created? And somebody needs a little ding out of their door or something to be done. You go to their house and do it there. You have to shift. Your mindset has to start to shift, and, you can, they can pay online. You go down there, you fix their car, pull a little dent, whatever. I don't do that for a living, but I think that's the difference. And we're in the same era. We're in COVID, just like that whole kind of Amazon snuck up on people.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't shift, you're not going to make it.
Yeah. And it's so true.
Whether it's now.
When you look at some of these businesses like Netflix, Blockbuster didn't see them coming, and they were another great example of not pivoting quick enough and being completely obliterated and taken out of the marketplace because they didn't respond quick enough. So it's so important that we keep an eye on what we have going on, but always keep, one eye on the future and where we're headed and where we're going, so that we can make the right decisions for our business and for ourselves and for our employees and even for our customers, and listening to what our customers want when they say it versus going, oh no, we're good. Like, we're just going to continue doing the same old thing over and over again. We're doing great. But when the world is shifting around you, you have to be able to respond and respond quickly.
I use JCPenney's with my students a lot as a case study. And, they struggled for years. And I have a friend of mine, quite a few of my friends work at one. But what happened was, somewhere along the line, they lost who was their customer. And they made a choice in a poor COO, and so they corrected that years ago. And but now they, is it young women? We're going to bring Sephora. And then Toys R Us went out. Okay, we're going to get in the baby business, and that didn't work. And then, they decided they're going to sell refrigerators again, and then they got rid of that. So they struggled with that whole identity of who are we and who do we serve, at the same time as Amazon's taken over the world, right? So I think that I agree with that, but it's also, they always have to stop and, what's going on around the industry, and then what's happening with our customers.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's a double whammy, I think, for them.
Yeah, I love that. Well, as we kind of start to wrap up our conversation, I would love for you to tell our listeners, if they could support you in one major way over the next 6 months, what type of support would you be looking for to gather?
Would you say support? What does that look like to you?
Yeah.
So I can understand the question.
Yeah. So what type of support, if people were to hear about your business and know what types of people you were looking to serve, what ways that you're now working with some of your clients, what do you think the best way for them to make introductions would be for you?
Okay, so I'm sorry. Emailing me at Colleen at Meyer and Mintz Consulting.com, or they can go to my website, www.meyerandmintzconsulting.com. There's a contact us page, or they can just call me on the phone at 909-647-7474. We can chat. Usually what I do is I have a conversation with people, And then I send them a statement of work. So basically that's saying, this is what I heard you request from us. This is the costs. And then if there's something I think that they would benefit from, I'll say potential. And then I send it to them. And sometimes we come back and we look at it and we negotiate and make changes, then we create a contract. But I think it's reaching out, having a conversation and see where we can come together and make changes happen.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I like to end my interviews with what I call rapid fire questions. So I have just a couple questions for you.
I'm ready.
So that we can get to know you a little bit better. So my first question for you is, I'm obsessed with morning routines. So I'm curious, do you have a morning routine? And if so, what is it?
I do have a morning routine, and it is I get up before anybody else in the house. I get coffee, go into my office, turn on the TV, and spend a long time just relaxing and just having some coffee by myself before the day gets started. So it's quiet.
Yes, I completely agree with that one. I love the quiet in the morning as well. So, who would you say has been the biggest influencer in your life?
I would say my husband, John. He supports me no matter what. Oh yeah, you want to go to school and get an MBA? Great. You want to go get a doctorate? Great. You want to start your own business? Go for it, honey. And here's the big one. I started playing the violin at 40. And I said, babe, when I was a little girl, I always wanted to play the violin. And he says, well, why not now? I'm like, I'm too old. That's like, and he goes, never too old. So I took 2 or 3 years of playing the violin. It was fun. So he's my hero.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And I love the fact that he supports you no matter what it is that you have going on, and how fun that you learned something that you've always wanted to do since you were a child, to be able to do that no matter what age you are. I think it's powerful, especially for like our families to see like that you can still follow your dreams no matter where you are in life. All right. So my next question for you is, where's your happy spot when you need to reset, recharge? Where do you like to go?
My happy spot is my house. I live in the mountains and I can go outside. It's quiet. The wind blows, there's birds, and it's just so beautiful here, and it's peaceful. And I go out my back porch, and that's my happy place. My happy place is home.
Yes. I love the mountains, so I can only imagine it's so serene to be out there with hearing the birds and the trees breeze around. And yeah, I can imagine that's so powerful to like just
and an occasional bear.
Yeah, and the occasional bear. Absolutely. And my last question to kind of wrap things up with you is, and I know that it's hard to do now, but if I could send you anywhere, if you could travel somewhere, where would you like to go?
I would like to go to Florence, Italy. And I'm a big history buff. I love Florence and all the art and the history. And there's a dome in Florence, and they say there's a gap between the outside dome and the inside dome, and you can walk through it. And it was designed by a man named Brunicelli. And I would think it'd be awesome to put my hand where he had his hand. That would be amazing to me. So
yes.
That's where I would want to go, Florence.
That sounds lovely. I'll pack my bag and come with you. Sounds good to me.
Let's go. Get some Italian wine.
Yes. Colleen, this has been so much fun having you on the podcast. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to share your story with our audience.
Thank you so much for having me, Darlene. I appreciate it.
All right. And that's a wrap for the Attract and Stand Out podcast. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or whatever channel that you're listening to us on. And we will see you next week. Have an amazing one. Bye, everybody.